Good morning, good evening, good night, good afternoon, whatever time it is. We learn a lot from failure, and I talk about failure a lot because that's one of our greatest educators. But we also learn a lot from success. And I wanted to talk today about how my father succeeded with everybody failed. Now, 70% of businesses fail in the first 6 months. I'm referring to small businesses, very little backing. Usually you do it for poor planning, poor capital, and poor finance. Things because you don't want to wait and you want to get started. Of those, 90% of them fail within the first 5 years. So it's very hard to get a small business to start and be successful. My father was successful for 30 years as an insurance salesman. I wrote the book Coffee and Cash dedicated to him about insurance salesman. Basically, salesman is going to be the last thing to be, because as good as automated systems are, it's very hard for a robot computer or a text code to convince somebody to hand their money over for something they don't want to think about that they need. Life and health insurance is a hard sell. It's something that everybody needs, but nobody wants to think about. There's a very bad aura around it. And my father was able to sell it and sell it well. Now, the thing about successful people is, and successful businesses, they always find one thing, a niche, that they build on than everything else. Warren Buffett is the greatest investor ever and had a lot of businesses. He started as a paper boy. He was collecting cans. He was collecting newspapers. He did everything. Now, his niche was when he started Geico. First thing he went for, which what it stands for, is government employees, because he knew they would always be paid. Now, the other thing they noticed was he was always going to be undercut by other insurance people. Other insurance companies would always undercut him. There was no way he could always be the lowest. So his selling point when he got started, even though now it's give us 15 minutes, we can save you 15% is their tagline, was, I'm not going to be the lowest, but I'm going to be here. You pay me, and you know we're going to pay because we're going to be here. Our business will be solid. And that's a very big selling point when you're talking about insurance in the future. Now to my father. Now, this goes to sometimes weird things that seem to have no association are the key to your success. Now, back in the 80s when my father was starting out selling life and health insurance, there was no cell phones, there was no internet, there was 3 or 4 channels. Cable was just starting out. If you had a cell phone, you were really rich, or you listened to radio. There wasn't much in line for in-home entertainment, and that's important. Now, my father loved to drive. He loved to drive anywhere, would drive anywhere, was always happy to drive any place. He would drive 10 hours a day. If Lyft driving was around when my father was young, he probably would have been a Lyft driver. I'm amazed he wasn't a long-haul trucker, the way he loved to drive. Well, what he discovered was it was really hard to get people to talk to insurance. If he could talk to them, he convinced them. He was really good at talking. So what it is that there's Montauk Point out on Long Island, New York. Now, back in the 80s, people got lonely. People didn't have anybody to talk to. The winter at Montauk Point is an empty place, and there are people that live there year-round. But they have nobody to talk to, nobody to see. And it's cold, so their friends don't want to come out either. My father found out that he could make appointments, 3 or 4 appointments a day, any given weekday, in Montauk Point because he was willing to drive the 2 hours, the hour and a half to go down there and talk to people. And that was his in. That's how he built the business. Because he would actually go down and these people were lonely. They had nobody to talk to. There wasn't much entertainment. And talking to an insurance agent, especially one that could tell colorful stories like my father, who was very nice to people and talked to people and very talkable, was better than talking to nobody. And over the years, he built up a client base in Montauk. And he would do it one step at a time, one client at a time, by talking. So the fact that my father loved to drive, there was no problem for him to drive the hour and a half to get out there. And of course, he was very good at talking like any other insurance salesman or any other salesman is. He was able to build a clientele and start his business. So here we have something completely unrelated to sales, driving, but it worked because it gave him his niche. And then word of mouth came along. And the other thing he found out, I actually wrote this in my book, Coffee and Cash, that cops love to buy life and health insurance. When my father died, you would have thought he was a cop, the amount of police officers at it. Because they're always worried. They're thinking about death every day. They're out on a job that's deadly. So they buy lots of life and health insurance. They already have it in their job, but they always want extra. Therefore, he sold to like every single police department that he could get his phone number for. Seriously. So those are two niches. So when you're starting a business and try and find out what you do better than anybody else, it could be something weird or unusual that doesn't fit, but you make it fit. You make it. And my father was very successful for many years, right up until the time he passed. So what your niche is, for whatever you want to do, you have to find it and cultivate it. So I wanted to get there on his success and how he did it. Remember to read my book, Coffee and Cash, Chris Alexinas, Alexinas, available on Amazon. New for mature readers only. Missing Treasure, again, Alexinas. Get all my links at Listert. Thank you for everybody that signs up, Pogo and everything like that. And that's on my Twitter page, Risky6877. Subscribe to my YouTube channel here. I appreciate you all. And I just keep on talking. Have a great day.